Guys, we're getting ready to talk about something that I'm freaking excited about. This and for our listeners back at wherever you're at, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to use your imagination. All right, I'm gonna talk about some photos. You can't see them, but we'll try to do our best to help you guys understand what we're talking about. But a car, there's this car. All right, my dad drove a car in the Xfinity series in the mid-'80s. And Mike, you got some stats on this car.
I mean, this car that your dad drove, 6 total wins, 2 at Rockingham, 2 at Darlington, 1 at Charlotte, 1 at Daytona, built in 1984, ran about 3 or 4 years, or at least of winning races. I mean, this thing was successful. Dale Earnhardt could get around in black 8, that number 8 Goodwrench car.
Okay, so this was originally a Pontiac Ventura.
Oh, okay.
After a few races, or a year or two of racing that way, it was transferred. They cut the nose off the car and made it a Nova, okay? And I've seen this car. It's an old Busch car, and I've seen it pop up over the last 15 years. It's been to Monterey. It's been raced as a vintage racer for many, many years. It's been over to overseas?
Goodwood?
Goodwood. Yeah, it's been to Goodwood twice. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. It's been to Goodwood twice. And I've seen this car over and over and over. I've never seen it in person. And I've always wondered, is it the real car, right? They're claiming it's the real car, but how do you know? How do you know this is the real car? Well, obviously the car came up for sale recently at Barrett Jackson. I'm getting all kinds of text messages from everybody, even my sister, and talking about, man, you've seen this car. And I had, it pops up on my social media timelines, and I'm thinking, wow, man, this thing is getting around. And I wonder why, of course, it's getting sold. And we've seen in the past, especially recently, a lot of Dad's cars and my cars going on auction.
Right.
Some real, some not real.
Some not real.
All right. And it's pretty easy, to be honest with you, to know what's real and what's not. But even, and I guess the line or the history with this car going into the Barrett Jackson auction was that my uncle on my mom's side, Robert G. Jr., had verified that this car was legit. He had this car. This car was brought up to Robert G. Jr. to be looked at. And the reason why they would take it to him is because he put the body on the car. Yeah, all right, and he did several things on the car and would go to the racetrack with the team as well. I've got him at the racetrack in a photo with the rest of the team standing next to this car. And so Robert G. Jr., who works here at Junior Motorsports, has worked on this car, put the body on it. So I asked him, I said, Robert, is this the car? He goes, yeah, it is. I'm pretty confident this is the car. I said, well, this car is probably going to go for $150,000. Are you $150,000 confident that this is the car? And he goes, I'm pretty sure.
No, I need more than that.
I'm like, well, what is it? He saw this car. They brought it up to him, but it was in the late 90s when he saw this car. And I'm like, well, man, what if it's not that car? And he goes, well, if it's the car I saw in the 90s, it's the real car. And I'm like, how do you know? Okay, because you did the body you could look at the body. Can't you look at the body, Robert Jr., and say, that's my work? And he goes, well, no, really, the thing that I saw on it was the drive shaft hoop. Okay, so it has a drive shaft hoop at the back toward the rear end housing to keep, if the drive shaft comes loose or the yoke breaks, to keep the drive shaft from tearing the rear end or tearing the sheet metal out of the car and hitting the driver. And he said he watched my dad make that loop, and it's unique because Dad made it, and the way it was made, the way Dad chose to make it, he heated it up with a acetylene torch and wrapped this thing around an oxygen tank, which is quite dangerous, and made it himself right there in front of Robert in the shop. And Robert says, I saw that drive shaft hoop on that car. Well, I'm thinking, well, hell, you could put that drive shaft hoop on any car and say it's the car. That, it still doesn't mean that it's the car. How do I know? I need markings. Like, did you see anything in the body that was original to your work? Because he was the body man.
Right. Did you put Uncle Robert was here?
Right.
Somewhere etched on inside of the sheet metal.
Yeah, he'll do stuff like that. Yeah.
He couldn't give me enough confirmation to make me completely sure that this was the real car. I got some encouragement within my family. that I should purchase this car. I called Tony Sr. and I talked to him about it. And what I kind of swung for the fences. I called Rick Hendrick. I said, Rick, you're at the auction, and he's going to bid on some cars. I said, I got one I need you to get for me if you can. And he goes, sure. And I said, it's probably going to go for 150. But if it's under 200, try to stay in the fight. And so we got the car for 190. All right. They bring it back to the house. They ship it all the way up here on Rick's guys brought it to us. Unload the car. I have been climbing all over this car. All right.
As you should.
Trying to find some identification,
right?
Something, anything that would make me feel confident 100% that this was the car. All right. And there's the floorboard of the car. And I'm going to send you guys a quick picture. My dad would take the floorboard of the car and he would beat it down with a ball-peen hammer to get his seat low. Okay? When you get the car, you put the seat in. A lot of guys would go, okay, it's against the floorboard. It's as low as it's going to go. Well, Dad wanted to be lower. That wasn't low enough.
Wow.
He would get in the car and with a hammer, seat out of the car, get in the car with a hammer and beat the floor down as much as he needed to, all right, to get the seat as low as possible. So I sent you guys a photo, and you can see right there.
You see the hammer marks.
You can see the ball-peen hammer marks in the bottom of the car. This picture is taken from underneath the car, and you can see this. It's obviously been hammered down a ton, all the way across the back, to get the back of the seat lower and get get Dad to where he can sit lower. So okay, all right, that still doesn't say this is the car. Somebody else could have beat their seat down.
I don't know.
That's a very Earnhardt thing there.
It's a very Earnhardt thing, but it isn't. And I can't find another picture of the car from 1986 of the bottom showing this exact same hammer marks. So that doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
All right. I'm the one that has spent the money. I need more.
All right.
All right. So I got this photo stream on my phone with over 1,000 photos, thousands of photos of my dad's career at many, many points, 70s, 80s, photos that are rare, hard to find. And there's a couple photos of me that I've collected as well. And here is one. I'm actually, in 1986, I'm sitting in the car. All right? I'm sending that to you. And that gives me a view of the driver's window. All right. And some of the interior of the car, as far as the rear sheet metal in the back interior of the car, the roll cage. One of the things that I look at in this photo is how they hooked up the window net at the top of the window. Back then, everybody would have done that differently. A car didn't come, when you put the body on, you made that yourself, how you were going to hook up the window net. And so when you see those mounts, they're unique to the car. And I would look at those mounts and go, well, that's exactly like the mounts on my car. So that's a pretty good confirmation, but still that's a 99% maybe or 95% sure that this is the car. Somebody could have copied that or somebody could have done that on another car. And then I found this photo. Same day, me sitting in the car at some racetrack in the garage from the passenger window. All right.
Look at this.
Okay. And so this is a picture of me in the car, and I can see the seat belts, the steering wheel, the steering shaft, the dashboard. And if you draw in, look closely at above the steering shaft, there is a radio box.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I see it.
And it's riveted to a roll bar.
That's right.
With 2 rivets. And then to a piece of sheet metal by 2 rivets as well. And if you look, it's kind of cocked counterclockwise just slightly.
Yep.
All right. It's not level with the roll cage of the car. All right. So I go into the car quickly with my camera. I'm standing when I'm looking at this picture, I'm standing next to the car, and I dive in that car with my camera. All right. And I take a picture I sent it to you, of the car today.
Oh my goodness.
There's
Oh,
the rivet holes.
And there's the
There
and
they
the
are.
fact that it's off angle.
There's the rivet holes, and
And it's
they're off angle. That's
it.
That's it.
That's it.
awesome.
I don't need anything else.
No.
That to me locks it down.
Yep.
That I'm holding the real thing.
That's a $150,000 guarantee.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
So, I'm gonna tell you right now. I ran back up to the house to tell Amy. I was almost in tears, getting that type of confirmation.
That's awesome.
That I had the car, and I was calling my sister. I was calling Rick. I called Robert Jr. I text Tony Sr. I'm telling everyone, like, I got it. I got what I needed, and I really do have this car. Why is this? I mean, any car that my dad drove, of course, would be important to me, but this one in particular is important because this car was built in the shop next to Mamaw's house.
What?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
I guess, yeah. I mean, this is predates any of the stuff at DEI.
This was before DEI.
This Dale, what was it? Dale Earnhardt Inc. or whatever, like the patches they used to have back then. Yeah.
So this was built in that shop behind Mamaw's house, and Dad, I would beg Dad to take me when he would he went to that shop every single day of the week before he would, then he'd go to the race. But he was there working on his cars and hanging around. And I begged to go. We ate Whataburger for lunch every day. I mean, it was just so fun. And I climbed all over this car and all over that shop. I mean, it wasn't but 2 bays, but I remember I've taken pictures with this car. Obviously, I got pictures of me in the car, hanging out, playing around. It just means so much to me to have it. And so I made a long list of things that I'm excited to do to the car. I've got a sort of a little. I'm not gonna really do a frame off restoration on the car. I want to drive it. I don't want to worry about. I'm not gonna race it, obviously, but I want to. I don't want to worry about the thing getting nicks and scratches and dirt. So I'm not going to do a complete frame off restoration. I am going to take it apart, make sure everything works right, but it needs a proper seat. I want to get a time period correct seat, time period correct steering wheel, fire bottle. It's got a lot of stuff on it that doesn't need to be on it because it was raced in the vintage series. So like it's got a brake light in the back.
Right.
It's got a real glass in the back glass. That would have been Lexan. I got to put a Lexan glass in that back there. I'm gonna sand the body and clean the body up and repaint it.
You can have G help you with some of that and make it even more. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Me and him spent a lot of time climbing all over the car, climbing underneath it over the last couple of days, and I asked him a few times if he had one more restoration in him, and he hasn't answered me yet. But
oh, he needs to do it.
He'll be involved, I'm sure. But I love it, man. I'm so proud that I can't believe.
That's incredible.
That I have it. I have that car, and obviously we've talked about it, the 1980 Cup Series championship winning car, and just to have anything like that. When Dad died, I got a pair of boots, that were his, and so since then I've been collecting more and more items that belong to him, and that's been my own. Anything that I've gotten was either given to me by someone nice enough to give it to me or by something I've collected or tracked down myself. So I'm telling you, I know it's a lot of money.
That's worth it.
You can't put a price on it. But I got a little bit of a list of restoration stuff that I'm going to do to it, and I would hope that one day when I'm finished with it that I can drive it at a racetrack, maybe at Throwback Weekend at Darlington if that's still going on. Take it over there and let people take a look at it and enjoy it. So that's what I've been doing. What you guys been doing this week?